A new study done on veterans with PTSD has showed that a course of mindfulness training has made substantial changes to the neurological pathways of their brains when scanned before, during, and after the process. It's also helped the vets to divert their thought processes more efficiently away from past trauma. Well, the findings have been published in Depression and Anxiety by a team from the University of Michigan Medical School. Well, they come from a study of 23 veterans of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan who all suffer from heavy PTSD. The brain changes showed up just from a course of mindfulness on MRI brain scans that can visualize brain activity in different areas of the brain that communicate to each other through different networks. Well, just to give a little bit of a rundown initially of what mindfulness is, and these veterans underwent 4 months of weekly sessions. Mindfulness is an extension of meditation in a way, and it's about controlling thoughts, being centered, being more present. Athletes often use it in terms of getting in the zone, maybe when you're skiing or involved in a dangerous situation, or you're focused on a race, for example. Getting in the zone, blocking out the clutter, blocking out the other thoughts, and being present. And certainly with PTSD, we're talking about past trauma that comes and recirculates, an endless cycle, a loop of thoughts. And the mindfulness training over 4 months to these veterans showed that they were able to divert their thoughts away from that clutter, away from that trauma. And then physically, what's even more surprising is the brain scans, the MRI scans, showed the neurological pathways affecting different areas of brain activity.
That is so cool, and that is so important that we're moving in this direction, because we can develop all the drugs that we want down the road, but you know what? It's going to be very difficult to create drugs that don't have certain side effects. And so if this is something I think about a lot. I mean, if we can just learn how to tap into our brains and turn off certain things and turn on certain things, I don't know, that will be so crucial. I mean, and that goes, with mental problems, I mean, psychological problems, but as well as physical pain too. I mean, if we can get that over that roadblock and kind of skip over the need for all sorts of therapy and drugs that make you addicted and then make you depend on other drugs. I mean, it's just like so much more simple this way. And if we can really tap into that, that is going to change the way that we do so many things. And that is amazing. Meditation, that is so interesting. And when oftentimes when I think about the future, I associate humans with having developed some form of advanced meditation that helps us overcome certain things. I think that's key.
Absolutely. And obviously veteran PTSD is something that we've talked about before in the show, and it's a very big problem in this country. The stats estimate 22 suicides per day for veterans of war because of PTSD. But as you mentioned, mindfulness and meditation, if it can really change your brain activity in this way, it can help all sorts of people with depressions, anxieties, and all sorts of psychological disorders, let's say. At the start of the study, interestingly enough, the veterans with PTSD, they showed unusual activity on their MRI scans to begin with. And when they were asked before undergoing this course, this training, to rest quietly, to let their minds wander freely, but to rest, to relax, the MRI scans were showing unusual activity between areas of the brain networks that govern the reactions to salient, meaningful, external situations that we usually associate with danger and threats. So these parts of the brain, the dangerous, the threatening areas, were already highlighted even when they were asked to rest peacefully. Interestingly enough, they thought for this study that they'd find it hard to get a bunch of veterans of war to undertake a study of mindfulness and meditation. This kind of thing often has a relationship to yoga, to South Asian practices, for example. But when they went and explained a little bit further about what was involved, and they explained that this has the aim of grounding a person while also addressing mental phenomena, the veterans were pretty interested, and they underwent this 4 months of training. Well, here's a quote from one of the key researchers, Anthony King, PhD from the Department of Psychiatry. Here's what he had to say. He said, "We're hopeful that this brain signature shows the potential of mindfulness to be helpful for managing PTSD for people who might initially decline therapy involving trauma processing. We hope it may provide emotional regulation skills to help bring them to a place where they feel better able to process their traumas." Well, A control group was studied, as well as the veterans with PTSD. The results were significant. They were also very surprising. Not only were these veterans able to redivert their thoughts more easily and to shift them away from past trauma and to rest their mind, but they also showed physical brain activity that changed the connections on the MRI scans before, during, and after the process.